Deep in the territory of Montana, in a place that no map could properly locate, there lay a remote valley hidden between bare peaks and rocky slopes. For most days of the year, a frightening silence ruled over that valley, a silence that allowed no traveler to enter. Yet in the depths of that same valley stood a wooden cabin built from weathered logs, with a faint light glowing from its window at night. In that cabin lived a woman who appeared to be 50 years old, though in reality she was only 30. Frontier life had carved premature lines across her face. The cabin consisted of 2 rooms. One was the kitchen, which also served as the pantry and sitting room. The other was the family's shared sleeping quarters. 5 children grew up inside that little cabin, and rough-hewn logs served as seats arranged around the room. 4 years before those days, the Manning family had moved west from the east and settled in this valley. James Manning had discovered the valley before the main wave of settlers arrived and had found a rich vein of gold there. Now he worked every day in the mine, bringing $10 to $15 worth of gold from the earth. But the burden of daily life rested on his wife's shoulders. With her own hands, she had turned over the valley soil and planted corn and potatoes. She managed the household, baked bread, sewed clothes, and searched for the cattle that wandered away in search of pasture. Once her husband fell seriously ill with a burning fever. The woman was forced to travel 30 miles through rocky terrain and trackless wilderness to the nearest settlement to obtain medicine. She left her 11-year-old daughter beside her father to care for him and keep her younger brothers and sisters fed. For 2 full days the mother was away, and the young girl was the only guardian of the home. 3 times, too, danger from Native Americans cast a shadow over the family. One night, 3 wandering Native men, survivors of a war party, came to the door asking for food. James handed them a loaf of bread through the window, but they did not leave. Until morning, they hid among the bushes, armed with rifles and hatchets, their faces painted for war. 100 yards below the cabin, they built a fire and remained there all night, as if waiting for the family to come outside. But by morning, they had disappeared. Another time, a large group of warriors camped a mile below the cabin, and 12 of them came up and surrounded the house. They jokingly fired at the wooden posts, chimney, and windows. The sound of bullets striking the roof echoed through the cabin, and the marks of those shots could still be seen on the door. One of them picked up a large stone to smash against the door, but the man aimed his rifle at him through the window, and the man fled. If a group of soldiers had not come up the valley that day and driven the attackers away, the family might not have survived. Another afternoon, while James was working at the mine, 2 native men approached and wounded him with arrows, but he seized his rifle and defended himself. The danger did not come only from people. During their first winters there, the howling of wolves continued through the night until dawn. The wolves scratched at the door with their claws and cried out as though they wanted to reach the children inside. James killed 10 of them, and his wife killed 6. After that, the wolves no longer troubled them. Despite everything, even in that isolated valley, a spiritual life continued. There was no school, but the mother had taught the 3 oldest children to read herself. Every Sunday, the family gathered together to pray. The father read a passage from the Bible. Then the mother and children took turns reading verses until an entire chapter was completed. Afterward, all the children, except the youngest, repeated verses again and again until they had memorized them. These promises from Scripture were what kept the family's hearts warm during their isolation. On some Sunday mornings, the mother took all the children to the top of a nearby hill, and they watched the sun rise behind the mountains. In those moments, her thoughts flew toward her family and friends back east. The hardest thing for her was loneliness. Once, 18 full months passed without her seeing any white face other than those of her husband and children. The sight of a stranger's face would make her laugh and cry at the same time. Yet she was so busy with work that she had little time to dwell on it. She had to wash, boil, bake bread, search for cattle, or go down into the valley to weed the corn and potatoes or chop firewood. James knew that whenever she needed him, she only had to blow the horn and he would come down from the mountain. The woman managed the home and farm while her husband gathered gold. They hoped that within 5 or 6 years they would build a better home farther down the valley and want for nothing. A sawmill was expected to begin operating on the river below the following spring, and other families from the States were expected to join them. The one, though thin and fragile in appearance, came from a prosperous family in central New York and had known neither hardship nor suffering until she was 18. But now, with a body bent by the weight of motherhood and the hardships of frontier life, and a face marked with wrinkles far too early, her spirit remained unshaken, a strength equal to that of the greatest heroes of history. Her name and that of her husband, James Manning, deserve the same place that history grants to the founders of a nation. A couple who quietly and without recognition planted the seeds of a new town in the heart of one of the wildest regions of the continent.